Hey, my name is Endra, and I'm building Endra, a wooden sailing boat whose first line I've drawn under a mango tree at the Indian Ocean. 3 years later, you find me every evening at my workbench. Most recent task, the engine bed. Some time ago, I found an old Volvo Penta 2003 near Hamburg, which I brought all the way down. Now it's about time to make him a rest in my boat. Let me, while I join these massive pieces together, read you another story of my time in the Canal de Mozambique.
It's the 23rd February in 2019. In calm seas, you have the feeling that you could cross the ocean with a small dinghy. But as soon as the water cools, you may see in what danger the overcrowded boats send themselves when they try to transfer to Mayotte at bad weather. The robust dressing boats that pile up on the fishing beach of Wani are heavy for their 20-foot length, narrow, and have hardly a freeboarding. Practical for fishermen, quickly uneasy for passenger journeys. A few weeks ago, 3 such vessels sank on their way to Mayotte. It is said that only a little boy would have survived. Almost everyone here has known somebody who drowned during such a passage. They say when the Coast Guard of Mayotte pick up the boats, they do not always show themselves to be helpful, and sometimes even deliberately put them in distress with their fairways. I've heard rumors that my fisherman was also one of the smugglers that regularly makes passenger trips to Mayotte. I'd given up working with him a few weeks earlier, as I realized that he did not understand much about fishing and made little effort to learn the trade. Whereas, one day, I decided to go out on my own. Marwan, Sonsos wanted to accompany me. One early morning, we were standing on the shore of Wani. The flood threw its waves on the beach. Only with difficulty and hardships we got behind the surf. The swell continued to increase with the distance to the land and drew the bark around badly. When the engine registered irregularities, I decided to head back. Thereby, a supposedly good idea nearly led to the loss of my equipment. I had in mind to take the boat to the École de Pêche, which is located east of Wani, to have the engine checked by a mechanic. Now there is a ramp there, where I thought I could land neatly and swiftly, because apart from this very ramp, there is on Anjouan only the filthy beach to get in and out. My mistake was prompt. The ramp was steep and covered with seaweed, but it was already too late. Fiercely the waves struck the boat, filled it with water and pulled it back to the sea. At the last second I managed to attach a cable on the boat and throw the ropes and, at the boy who watched my awkward maneuver. The sea foot mercilessly, pushed the boat up the ramp and then took it back with enormous force. The poor lad stood no chance. Marwan scooped water in vain. Both of us found ourselves again and again in a game of water masses. Impossible to find ground on the slippery ramp. On the top of the ramp, more and more help was dropped in. And when after a while a dozen men's hands were tugging on the rope, the boat was little by little raised out of the water. Miraculously, nothing of the equipment had been lost. My malheur later turned out to be a stroke of luck. In the recovery of the boat, a helper stood out who understood the situation and gave the right instruction. Salo was a fisherman for years until at some point his equipment was discarded. Together we took a visit at the workshop which was consisted of an old oil barrel and a handful of tools. The unofficial Yamaha Fundi in Mutsamudu. With a few snatches the engine was disassembled and reassembled, while I, as always in such situations, bit my lips, hoped that all the dust would stay outside of the engine. I had never made an agreement with Salo. Our new cooperation was something natural, self-evident. Someone told me his nickname, Shkuru, the seagull. In the next few days we completed the fishing equipment, and soon I realized that Sola not only understood his trade but showed an unusual zeal. But I was all the more sorry when we returned from our first trip with only one small fish. But luck was just not on our side this day. All the more next morning's discovery hit me, making the last preparation for our next trip. The 100 liters of fuel we had provided in my shed had disappeared without trace, overnight and all. The thieves were well informed, knew when they had to strike and how to keep our dogs still. Disappointed, we summoned Sos, Ahmedi, Asyad, and Nairat, and demanded their loyalty and help to track down the thieves. Everything pointed to actors at the neighborhood. Everyone showed deep consternation. The measure was clear. We could with begging and wailing not dodge it. One should speak the dua. Sos would invite the dozen imams and let them spell for half an hour a threatening prayer over the delinquents. Otherwise, I was advised to keep always the machete ready to chop the thief's hand off as soon as he shows up. Nonetheless, I drove out with Sola the next following Saturday, after replacing the missing material the previous day. The sea was mirror smooth and blue like the sky. Far outside, a dolphin school led us to a piece of driftwood. We turned off the engine. I stared into the water and sighted some big fishes at safe depth. One by one, other boats arrived. We devoured our sandwiches and took a sunbath for a short while. Today's luck offered two wahoos, a slender fish about 1 meter long. That didn't fill the stomach, but the fuel canisters.
Okay, the engine is ready to be hoisted in. I guess it shall fit. Please let me know your critics about my video, and thanks for crewing up.